It's Kyle Paskewitz from the Million Parent March, Program Director. I'm also the Chairman of Parentalink and the Executive Director of Family Court Reform USA. I don't put out a whole lot of these videos, so forgive me if this isn't as polished as some of these other videos that you guys see out here. But I did want to take this opportunity to introduce myself, let people get to see my face, get to know me a little bit, and put out some important information. So first of all, I'd like to tell a little bit about my history and how I became involved in this movement, this parental rights movement. I went through a contentious divorce case. I don't want to go into a lot of the details about that, about my personal case, but as the rest of us, I was treated very unfairly by the court system. My time with my children is minimized. In fact, I just went to court this morning and once again felt like my rights weren't upheld, and the court was very, very prejudiced in their decisions. But once again, I have to address that through the proper legal channels in order to make any changes. And that's been pretty much my approach since day one when it comes to my place in the family rights or parental rights and family court reform movement. So what really brought me into this movement wasn't when my case originally first got settled. I wound up going through a lot of financial hardship, a lot of difficulties after the decision. I do have my kids, get to see my kids pretty regularly, but there's still quite a few ongoing issues there. That I went back to court a couple of years ago, I just essentially felt like, okay, enough is enough. If these things keep happening to me, a good parent, a person that's trying to do everything the best that they can to be in their child's life, that these things can happen to just about anybody. And it really, I started getting involved, on Facebook, on different listservs and things, and reading about the other problems that people were having, getting into conversations with different parents, and just finding out what all of these different problems within the system that need to be addressed one way or another. And so one of the first things that I was introduced to in the movement was the divorce court movie. So that came out back in 2014. Pretty much, I think most people within the movement have seen that movie. The producers of the movie, they created a number of committees, and I think in the end, leaders from across the country. And I was one of the committee leaders. I was a co-chair of the Constitutional Challenges Committee, and we all got together and we discussed all these different problems with the family court system. And we came up with a list of what the major problems were and what the solutions were, and we started working towards solutions. I have a project management background, and so I took a professional, started working with all the different groups, and we were all meeting in different factions within our committees, and we had a number of meetings that were multi-committee meetings, and we put together this list of all the problems and solutions. And ultimately, we got everybody together, and we had identified all these things, but unfortunately, for a number of different reasons, as a national movement and as a national coalition of committees, there were a lot of different interests, there was a lot of different organizations and things, and ultimately minimal progress was made with the work that we did there. And so that actually led me to change my efforts to mostly focus on Facebook, because I saw that there was a lot of people on Facebook that were reaching out. There were a lot of different groups out there. At the time, I think there was 200 or 300 different Facebook groups dedicated to some level of family court reform. And so I not finding exactly what I wanted. I was involved with the Fathers' Rights Movement, and I was involved with a number of other organizations out there, and got to know quite a few people, and decided that it would be what I wanted to do was create an organization that was going to bring all of these different groups together. Not necessarily an umbrella organization, not necessarily to dictate what was going to happen in the movement, but simply to have a way to bring people together on a state level and on a national level, so that as we had all these small groups and all these large groups, we could start to communicate, and we could start to get people together, and when we saw somebody out there that was doing good work, we would promote their work and we would share that. And that's what I've endeavored to do with Family Court Reform USA. Now, that's actually taken me in a couple of different directions. So I'm in the state of Washington, where the organization was founded and where I live, and I've done quite a bit of work on the state level now as well. And there's a bit of history behind that. There were a few groups that were active in Washington at the time, and I started to meet the leadership of those different groups. I attended a few rallies, started getting a little bit more involved politically. At the time, there was a bill called HB 1110, which was a shared parenting bill. I came in the second year of that bill, because in Washington, when a bill is put out, it's if it doesn't pass the first year around, it actually gets carried over to the next year. And so with HB 1110, I came in on the second year. At that point, there wasn't a lot of traction behind the bill, and I'm not sure why that was, but it was my first real introduction to Olympia, and I started meeting legislators and started understanding the process about how things work. Worked on some paternity fraud legislation, or I should say I supported some paternity fraud legislation that some other groups were working on, testified in a few hearings, and started, kind of getting my feet wet as far as how the legislature works. So in 2017, myself and Joe Jen to get a bill introduced in Washington, a new bill, which was HB 1554. It was a parental equality bill. It was built upon some of the work that was done on HB 1110. It also took a few clauses from a Missouri bill that came out, and we worked with a lot of different people to make this happen. And so during that process, we got a number of sponsors behind us. We had quite a bit of support. I brought in a lot of constituents from all over the state, to talk to different legislators. In the end, I had probably met with about 50 different legislators, and unfortunately 1554 did not get a hearing. And I won't go into the details about why that happened right now, because that really isn't the point in this initial message, but I can talk about that more in the future. But the bottom line is I started to understand the challenges and the difficulty involved with actually getting legislation passed. It's not an easy process at all, and there's a lot of different competing interests. There are a lot of different factors. There's a lot of reasons why laws need to be written a certain way, and it takes quite a bit of time. And I'm definitely having a lot more of an appreciation for the hard work that needs to be done in order to get positive change in our family court system. So this year, I also had proposed a number of other bills, and so I'd like to introduce another bill in 2018, and I'm working with Al Acosta, is the chair of our Veterans Committee here in Washington, and we're working together with a number of other folks to put together a Veterans Protection Act. And it's something that me and Al originally worked on in 2017, but because the parental equality bill was actually getting the most attention and the most traction, we had to focus most of our efforts on that. But we did, we pitched a few other bills as well, and we'd like to get the Veterans Protection Act introduced and hopefully passed this year in 2018. And it's essentially what that does is it specific issues that veterans have in terms of their service and how their service impacts their lifestyle and the way that the family court system needs to protect veterans in their particular cases. So that's something that I'll go into more detail with in the future. Just want to kind of give people a little introduction to some of the types of things that I've been working on and my team have been working on. We also introduced or we proposed a data collection and reporting bill, which would provide more transparency and accountability to the family court system. And then we also, following in the footsteps of a group out in California, we proposed an audit on the commission. The commission that is supposed to be handling and investigating complaints against judges and disciplining them when they when they do things that they're not supposed to be doing. And so that's that's one more way that we can hold our judicial system accountable, and one more way that they're not being held accountable the way that they need to be. So that brings me to last year in September. Everybody knows Cash Jackson. Cash Jackson launched his march in Olympia, Washington, actually, and I was there for that. He marched across the country to, I believe it was 11 different state capitals, and wound up in Washington, D.C. And, a really, and I've known Cash Jackson for a long time. I knew him when he was still in the military, and we're friends. I think he does good things. And I support him in his efforts now. I think he's out there doing things for the movement that haven't been done in a long, long time. And there's a lot of people that support him. And we're all working together, to bring positive changes to the family court system. So, and we need to have that unified effort. And that is something that happened last September when we all got together on September 11th. There was a few hundred of us out in DC that all showed up for this event on short notice. Within a couple of weeks, we had hundreds of people from all over the country, and we're talking about leaders from this movement who came from all over the country. As far as we had Thomas Fiddler from Alaska, and we had CJ Abernathy, and we had the Disgusted Dads group, and we had Ron and Sherry Palmer, and we had all of these different, Mike Whitney from New York, and I'm not going to remember everybody's names who was there, but we had a lot of people, Rustin Wright from Texas, all these people from all over the country showing up together, and for the same cause, because this was something that many people have tried to get together on many occasions. In fact, even when I was with the Divorce Corp group, that was something that we had all talked about even a couple of years ago, was that, hey, we need this big event that's going to unify this effort, and it's going to get our message out to the mainstream media. Okay, so these things have been brewing for a long, long time, and it's about time that we started getting the mainstream. We've got the social media platforms to get this information out there, and we have a lot of good people and a lot of good organizations that are all coming together in unity to promote parental rights and family court reform. And these are very, very important issues. There's many people that are very, very passionate about these issues because they hit at the fabric of our society. And we all, we understand that the social issues in this country all start in the home. They start with how we're raised. They start with our family life. And there's so many people out there that are hurting and damaged because of the family court system or CPS or the foster care system or things that happen to them throughout their lives. And we as a society need to start getting together and addressing these things and looking at what is the root cause of these problems. And one of the major root causes is the way that the family court system is allowing families to be torn apart and destroyed. And this goes on and on. These are long-term behave, and the things that they wind up doing in their life and the decisions that they make. And we see it all the time. Within this movement, we see a lot of things happen that we all understand, that people are struggling, that people are hurting because of this. Their children have been taken away from them. Maybe they were taken away from their family as a child, and all of these things are hurting us as a society. And a lot of the people in this movement very much want to get together and try to create solutions, and we want to try to create unity. And so that's one of the reasons why the Million Parent March started. That's one of the reasons why all of these different organizations have come forward. That's the reason why we're out here doing this all the time. And I tell you what, I spend a lot of my days, almost every single day I put in some time, but I mean, I'm probably spending about half of my time working on this movement, working on the Million Parent March, working on the different organizations that I'm working with in order to promote this effort for people, because it's not just about me. It's not children, and this is about future generations. And we're not even just talking about American kids. I mean, this is an international problem. So even if we change the laws and we change the family court system here in America, this is going to have an effect on other countries that are having these same problems, because they're going to see what it is that we do, and they're going to see the way that we handle it, and they're going to see whether we're able to resolve these problems or not. And so this is really, really important work that we're doing. And we've started to come together for this Million Parent March, and I wanted to address this because I was asked to come into this as the program director of this march. My project management experience and my reputation within the movement, it kind of speaks for itself. And a lot of people don't know my face. They may know my name. Maybe they've heard of Parentalink. Maybe they've heard of Family Court Reform USA. But I'm not a media guy. I don't spend a lot of time in front of the camera. And maybe I need to do that more. I got a lot of people asking me to come on their shows and things, and I'm willing to do that because it's going to help. It's going to help further the movement. And if that's what I need to do, then that's what I need to do. However, we've had with the Million Parent March, Cash Jackson is, he's planning to march on the Capitol. We have the Constitution Day event that's happening on Sunday with the rally, and a lot of different moving pieces to this. That I'm not going to say that it hasn't been without challenges, and I realize that there's been a lot of information put out, and it's not all good information. And what I'm telling you is that I'm working with the organizational leadership to make this happen and to make this a successful event. So if I'm putting something out, or the organizing committee behind the Million Parent March is putting out information, that's the information that you need to listen to. Okay. The committee is we're going to be starting to make some official announcements very, very soon, and we're going to be publishing more and more information to the website. There's also other committees that are either already a little bit active or are forming, and those include committees to deal with legislative proposals, committees to deal with different campaigns, whether it's letter writing campaigns or whether it's petitions, or calling your legislators and setting up meetings and things like that. So we're looking for help with all of these different things. So if you're interested in joining one of these committees and you're not already in contact with us, feel free to reach out to me. Reach out to any of our leadership, and we'll find a way to get people to help. And there's a lot to be done. There's a lot that can be done between now and September. And at this point, we're organized, but we need to get more organized, and we need people to be motivated, and we need people to have their head in the game and not causing problems, but actually doing things to help and being part of the solution and not part of the problem. Another thing, I've been in talks with a lot of different leaders about doing more outreach and getting more legal help for people, because that's an area where people very, very desperately need help. They need peer-to-peer counseling is another one, to have groups where if somebody is struggling, I know a lot of us have our friends that we can go to, but there's a lot of people that don't know where to go in the movement. They're just hurting, and they come to they come to a different group, and they're like, hey, I need somebody to talk to. Like, I'm really struggling through this. There's different groups that are talking about creating peer-to-peer counseling, so people will just simply have a discussion and talk to other parents that are going through similar issues. And then the legal help. There's a number of organizations that have tried to give legal help, and there's all sorts of resources out there, but it's not enough. It's far from enough. And even my own case, I've spent a lot of time studying the RCWs. I've spent a lot of time putting together cases and making legal arguments and putting evidence together. The courts don't care. It's very unfortunate the way that things are, and that's why we not only need reform, but people need legal help and expertise, and there's so many things that need to change. So very briefly, I'm going to address, there's been some slander against me, and there's been some slander against other leaders in this movement, and there's been slander against the essentially the march and the organizing committee, as far as I'm concerned, because we have a lot of people with a lot of stake in this movement and the success of this movement. And if you're out there slandering somebody, you're doing the wrong thing. I'm gonna tell you that right now, okay? That stuff needs to stop because that makes our movement look very, very bad. And if you're having personal issues, take it offline. Okay? So that's all I got to say about that. There's a Million Parent March website. All right? It's millionparentmarch2017.org. There's good information on there already. That's where the official press releases are going to be put out. We're adding features to it all the time. People are making suggestions to me saying we need to add this feature. We need to put this information out there. So we've got about 50, I think we're down to 55 days now. And there's a lot that we can get done in 55 days if we work together. And I am dedicated to making this a successful event. And I want everybody to come out, and I want everybody to enjoy themselves, and I want everybody to work together, but most of all, we need to get positive change here. And all of this stuff that's been going on just needs to stop, and people need to get together and start working together as a team so that we can do this for our kids and so we can do this for future generations. There's going to be a whole lot more information coming out. We're having a lot of meetings and talking to a lot of different people, and this is going to be a success. And I'm excited about it. I don't know if you can tell, but I actually am really, really excited about it. I just had court today, so I'm not, I'm a little bit more focused on the task than, at any rate. So one more thing I'd like to put out there, because I am available to people if they want to talk to me about different things. I'm reachable on Facebook. You can send me an instant message. Kyle Paskewitz is my name. I don't always have time to get back to everybody about everything, but if you have something important that you want to discuss about the march, or if you have questions, I have also made myself available on the Million Parent March website, millionparentmarch2017.org. There is an appointments tab, and you can go to that tab and set up an appointment with me. I've blocked off hours calendar. Put in your phone number, tell me what you want to talk to me about, and I will have a meeting with you. And it's actually pretty booked up a lot of the time, and so I'm doing this because I have to balance. I have a business to run, and I've got nonprofits to run, and a family to take care of, and everything else. So I try to dedicate as much time as possible, and this is, there's quite a few hours in the evening that I dedicate towards this movement, and particularly towards this event. So if you do need to reach me and you're not able to get me through, set up an appointment. You can do a 30-minute appointment, do an hour-long appointment, get on my calendar, and I'll talk to you and try to get you involved in this. So I hope that this has been informative to people. Like I said, I don't do a lot of these videos. It's just not really my thing. I'm busy doing a lot of other work, and if I need to start getting here on video so that people can get to know me and get more information about what we're doing, I will do that. Like I said, I've actually been doing a few more radio shows, and I've had other people ask me to get involved with their shows and things like that. And so I will make time to do whatever's going to be the most effective for this movement. So that's all I got for today. Everybody, keep doing what you're doing. Particularly if you're doing the right thing, keep doing what you're doing. If you're doing the wrong thing, stop. And let's all work together for positive change. It's way overdue, and this isn't the time to mess this up. Okay, everybody have a great day.